Hey Hero fans, this is Todd, and so today we are going to take this figure and classicized him. For like, what? Yes, we're going to take this figure and turn him into a classics. I was getting ready to sell him. I figured I don't need him, and so I was just going to toss him on eBay, starting bid $1, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do that because how often do I get a chance to create a character where I already have the head and the armor all ready to go that I could easily destroy on a classics? So before I decided to turn him into a classics figure, I thought I'd go back to the original source, the cartoon. And here is the cartoon picture of him. And you can see he's got long bracers on here, more gold than yellow, and then kind of reddish brown undies here. We can't see his feet, and I couldn't find a picture that shows his feet very well. So there we go. So looking at this is already the wrong color, but I don't care. I'm going to make him yellow anyway, just because I don't want to sit there and spend a lot of time painting him. It's just a really quick custom. So a couple things I needed was I needed bracers that would match what I'm trying to do. And then I needed also boot parts and of course legs and everything else. So I was going through looking at all my different classic figures I have, and I was thinking if I was to get another one of these He-Man figures here, he already has the yellow bracers, which is pretty close. I mean, granted it's not gold, but it is kind of close to his yellow that he has on his shirt right there. And so I was thinking, okay, that could work, but then again, these are kind of spendy. So I thought, okay, the next thing I could do is I could use an Ular, but I couldn't find any more Ulars with arms still. I've used them on, I've got 2000Xs, and I was going to take and put these cuffs from King Grayskull from the Masterverse line onto Ular's wrists to make up the difference for these, which would work good. But since I didn't have any Ular arms, I thought, okay, I could use this guy's arms here, as you can pull off this hand, pull this off, slide this cuff on, and have a little gap underneath. You don't even notice it. And then that would work that way. But this guy's skin color is so different from everybody else's, I'd be stuck having to do quite a lot of major updates to make that work. So I decided to go with not the Chinese knockoff, which did cross my mind for a minute because their colors just don't match anything. And the skin tone is really yucky on those Chinese knockoffs. So I have this figure here, which is basically Molar with the arms of Hero, the first Hero that was released with the gold armor. And I kind of like these. Even though they're not gold, they actually match better with the aesthetic look of going up his arm as opposed to just being short little ones. Now, I could take and paint these gold and spend that time doing that, but it's okay. I think it will look just fine since this armor is not gold either. It's yellow. So I decided to go with this. So the next thought was what undies to use. So I have lots of underwear to choose from, where I was thinking, okay, this gives me the gold, and it's red, which is regular undies are red already, so this would work pretty good. But being that his armor is not actually gold, it doesn't really match anyway. So nix the gold, and I kind of like this blue and black. Now I know his undies are brown and not blue, but I really like the way this looks with the offset of the yellow. And so even though this is not the way the toy looked, it's not the way the figure looked, I'm going to take some artistic license. I think I'm going to use these. Now my other choice was actually these ones here. And these look pretty good too. I mean, that actually looks pretty decent to use with that darker black belt like that. You know, I haven't decided yet. This one, definitely not going to use, so I can set those aside. And this one, not going to use. So it's between these two. Either the black belt and the blue, or the brown and the black and silver. So I'm not going to use this figure, so we'll set him aside, put him to the safety zone. So now the problem I had was the boots. And so I found these boots from a Man-at-Arms. I thought I could use those, but they're orange, not yellow. Oh man, getting so close, but yet so far away. I thought, what figure has yellow uppers like this that I could use? And there was only one figure I could think of, and that was this guy right here. Now granted, this yellow doesn't match exactly, but it is still yellow, and maybe by the time you get to his feet, it won't be quite so obvious that it doesn't quite match exactly. And who knows, I might add a little red wash to this that matches these boots anyway to give it more of a golden look. So there we go. So these boots are set aside. Now it's time to pick out his feet. The feet. I decided to go with these feet right here. You're like, what feet are those? These feet are actually the feet from Rio Blast. They are the bottom of his boots. And I know it looks funny on these bare legs, but if you look at his boots, they look almost like they're Rio Blast shoes. In fact, when I first saw these, I said, they're going to release Rio Blast. Those are Rio Blast's cowboy boots with a little heel on them on the back. You know what? Let's grab Rio Blast and see if I was right. Ugh. It does look like... Nope. They are different. Bom, bom, bom. They're actually a different size even. Look at that. Look at the size difference between Rio Blast's foot and his feet. That's funny. Anyway, I'm going to go with Rio Blast boots to be the boots. So there is our makeup for this figure. Whew. That's the rundown. Now let's do it. Let's start by pulling his head off. The easiest part of the sword, that's right. So this is the sword he comes with. And this would be okay to use. They do have classic swords that do look a lot like this, but I had this sword, and I don't know where it came from, and I think if I'm going to go with the blue shorts, it has some blue highlights in here, it has gold, and it looks kind of cool, and it's different than everybody else's sword, so I might go with that. Alright, I'm not going to use the silver, that one. I'm not going to use this one. I'm not going to use these. I'm not going to use the red and gold. I'm not going to use this at all. And so now we have pretty much narrowed it down to just a few left. So I was just going to slap it all on this body right here. But if I'm going to go with brown shorts and a black belt, which I think I am going with, I'm going to want brown undies underneath. And I could paint this brown, which I've done in the past, but I think I'm just going to do a swap on this guy here. That way I will have the brown shorts already and less painting. Now it is more of a pain, I have to pull these ones off. So I will see how close these match, and I'll pop the arms off first and put them on him and see how close they are, because he is a little darker than he is, so it may not work. You know, now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking it may not work at all. Which may have me lean back towards the blue shorts again. Let's put the armor on and take a look. Let's do this thing. Let's get the armor on there. Okay. Armor on. Snap in there. Snap. And I need you to snap in here. Now, sometimes when you try to swap armor between classics and origins, they don't always work the best. Once in a while you get lucky and they just happen to be rubbery enough to work. This is the case with this armor here. It's just rubbery enough to work. And at first I thought, oh heck, it looks like he's wearing a half shirt instead of a full suit of armor. But in the cartoon, it was a half shirt. So we are still cartoon accurate there with the half shirt look. Let's see how the sword fits in his back. Whoosh. Perfect. Now his head I know is going to fit a little loose because the ball joints are different sizes. So we're going to take and put a heat shrink tubing onto that ball joint to make it work. So let's take a look here. A blue. That does look really cool. Or brown. That looks really cool too. I think I do like the brown better. Okay, I'm gonna have to paint this then. That stinks. Oh, you know what? Let's check the arms first. Let's do an arm check. I forgot all about that. Let's see how these legs match. Now these legs here are actually from Zodak, so they're a little bit lighter color. So I'm not sure how that will work. Alright, let's do the arm swap first and see how it looks. If it looks too noticeably different, we're going to have to go with this body and paint it brown. Into the hot water for you. No. Psh. Now, if you're careful, you won't see the blue very much, but once in a while when you're taking pictures and shoot a figure's legs, you'll see that the underwear underneath appear, and that's why you need to have a dark color underneath there. And you could have either blue or black or whatever else. I'm going to set this body over here, because that body's probably going to go up on eBay without its armor, without its head. Who knows, maybe I'll customize him into a cool looking He-Man with gold belt and gold arm pieces first. Alright. Let's see if that's been long enough. You have to wait for the heat to propagate through the whole entire arm for it to work. And oop, there we go. I'm thinking it's going to be way too light in color. Yeah. It's just... You know what? Maybe not. No, it is. It's too light. Too light. That will not work. Put them back on here. Ugh. Even here, there's still a little light, but not as much difference as it is over there. Now, you're probably wondering, why don't I use the hero body? Because the hero body has a gold chest and it won't work on there. Okay. I have to go paint this. So I'm going to pause this video while I go do some painting, and I'll be right back. You know what? Before I paint it, I'm going to put the shorts on first, because I found if you put the shorts on after, you end up ruining the paint job. So let's get these shorts on first. Let's throw them into the hot water. You'll notice there's a big side and a small side. The big side always goes towards the right, and you can see that on here. There's a big side there, and there's a small side. All right, into the hot water. Now, when you go to put them on, the hardest part is getting them to fit on here with the little points sticking up. On all these little shorts, they have these little points in the corner that just catch on everything when you try to close them. So the first thing you want to do is you want to cut off those corners just ever so slightly. Otherwise, they'll plague you forever. Forever! While we're at it, let's steal Merman's boots. Now, I have two of these, otherwise I would not destroy this merman, because this is a really cool looking merman. But since I have two, we will sacrifice this one for the yellow pieces. All right, let's get those shorts on. Okay, so first thing we have to do, cut the corners. Just ever so slightly, not much to it at all. You're not looking for a whole entire reshape, just take off the corners ever so slightly. Otherwise you will have pain later when you go to install them, because those corners will vex you. They will vex you forever. All right, let's dunk them back down. One last chance to heat up. Heat, heat, heat. Now let's heat it up. Let's go ahead and slide these babies on. It's always a pain to get them up on over the little bumps first, and then you have to work them up. This always reminds me of my daughter was little. She used to collect Polly Pockets, trying to get those little rubber clothes on. It was always a pain in the tush. And these, they turn hard really fast, and they start to cool down. So you have to keep reheating them. Come on, work your way up. You can do it. Usually once you get one side on, the other side just goes a little faster. It's tight, tight, tight. There we go. One side. And now for the other. Okay, once you get it to this point, this is the tricky part. You now have to take a screwdriver and you work them up underneath, and it's going to want to poke a hole. So you got to be careful not to let it poke a hole. But basically you're just going to force the sides to go up and over and into the groove. into the groove. And it just takes a little bit of slow working around, kind of pulling them out. Be careful not to stab through the shorts. It happens really easy when you accidentally stab it. Very easy to mess up. There we go. There we go. You can just see it just slowly working into the crack there. And once you get it all lined up, you're then going to heat it up one more time just to shrink them a little bit. Oh, there's one spot still sticking out. Dude, your undies are bunched. We don't want bunched undies during this operation. And see if those corners were still uncut. That's where it causes you problems, is right there. All right, one more dunk. All right. And they'll just shrink a little bit right on there when they cool down. Cool, cool. All right. Well, it's time for me to go paint. Let me pull these parts off here so I can at least get these done. Let's see. Fit. There we go. Now to get that foot off. The foot's always a pain to get off. I may have to get that off later. There's the other leg. There we go. All right. All right, I'll be back. They'll sit in the hot water while I go paint this part up. Bye now. All right, well, I am back, and I have been busy painting, and I changed the water out too. And so I did mask it off when I did my clear coat after I painted it brown. I painted it brown with this right here, this melted chocolate from Apple Barrel. And then I used this right here for my top coat afterwards. So let's go ahead and unwrap them. I just used standard blue painter's tape. And then I just used regular saran wrap to protect the rest of the figures from overspray. So we shall be very careful. It's like I already nicked the paint a little bit already. Usually I have to go back and retouch it after I'm all done doing the custom figure. You can see I already got a little spot there nicked. That's pretty common. Also in the back, it's going to come off a little bit with the tape when I pull it off. But I'll just go back and touch those up later. And this paint is still really, really fresh. So it's going to be a little tough working with this, but we'll make it work. We shall make it work. All right, there we go. Now the next step, which may seem a little strange, is we're going to put these O-rings into his legs just so they don't become super loose. I've found as time goes on, figures' legs become loose, and it's just a good idea. I wish I would have done it with this one figure that I built not too long ago. While he was apart, it's so much easier than trying to do it when they're assembled. So let's go ahead and do this. So I need this tool right here. Ha, 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 ha. And this is just to stretch out my O-ring. I'm not going to use these. And we'll just stretch this out. Stretchy, stretchy. Then rotate it as you stretch. And your goal was to get it to stretch as far as it can. If you try to stretch it in one shot, it would just snap on you. Because we have to get this over that little peg and into the thigh, or into the little crevice. So you want this nice and stretchy. Just like when you stretch a balloon before you blow it up. Same kind of deal. All right, now that I have that on there, I found it's great to use this tool to also get it started. So you just take and you just kind of work it around town. Freddie Brown, there we go. And then once you have that on there, you just slide it right in. It'll push all your brown paint that you didn't want on your leg out of the way anyway. And you just slide it and it will just pop right in, right next to the joint. Bink, there it is. And that just makes that leg so much stiffer, so you don't have the problem of loose legs later on. Now for the other side. Stretchy, stretchy. And then I always like to double check to make sure I'm not doing the same side twice, because that is bad to do the same side twice, obviously. Fit. I want to be careful not to stab my painted surface with that. And then you will just slide this right down over, and there we go. Nice and tight. Perfect. All right. So now let's do the foot swap. Now the foot swap is very tricky. This takes a lot of effort to get it just right. So the first thing on the foot swap you have to do is pull out. Oh, that came off really easy. I guess if you have the water hot enough, it comes off really easy. Well, let's not get these mixed up. This goes on this leg. Well, his isn't coming off that easy. Not too bad. Sometimes these pins will be backwards, so you may have to fix that pin. It should be large or long in the front and short in the back. When you have them this hot, things are just going really good. They sat in that water for a long time while I was painting. There we go. Now let's swap this one out. Wow, that's just crazy how easy that is. It's so easy. Oh, I spoke too soon. Sometimes we can't get them off, pull from the back because it's shorter on the back. And put it on the same way. Hey, look at that. And these are still pretty hot. I could probably just slip them right on. There we go. Now for the armor, which I'm probably going to stick a slight little orangish red wash on at some point, just to give it a little more gold effect. I should go grab that orange wash right now. Fit. Hooray! And now for his head. Now his head is loose, so you got to figure that out. And the way you figure this out is, I have to lay him down so his legs can form correctly while it cools. We're going to use some heat shrink tubing. Ba-da-da! And I'm not sure which size fits on the hole, the small one, the large one. There's the large one. Yeah, the small one's too small. So I'll just take and heat shrink that on there just like that. And let's just cut a chunk off. Just like so. Now to do this, you don't want to use the hot water, which you can. You want to actually use your heat gun. So let me get my heat gun out. I have to unplug the water because I only have so many sockets in here. Let's move that merman before he gets ruined. Move these extra legs. Move these tools out of here. Give me your head, Kol-Darr. And your new sword. Not your shield. And let's get our heat gun set up for safety. I don't need these anymore. Don't need those anymore. Whew. All right, let's plug her in. Plug her in. Goodbye, hot water. You are no longer needed. All right. Let's do this. Hands down. Into the heat. There we go. Looks pretty good to me. I'm going to leave this extra long for now. I'll cut it off as I need to. I'm going to go run this heat gun somewhere else so it's safe and out of this area, because I've burnt myself before one time really bad. Alright, I am back. Let's see, it has cooled down. Let's pop that head on there. Oh, it's a little too tight. It's like when I have to use the hot water after all. Soak that head in there. Shouldn't take very long at all. Just enough to just soften it just ever so slightly. Alright, here we go. Moment of truth. Okay, I gotta cut the top off. Chink. Okay, moment of truth again. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. That's a nice tight fit. And there is my Kol-Darr. Kol-Darr. His legs are still rubbery. I need to work on that. But you know what? That's not too bad. I'm not really liking the yellow though, but that's the way he's supposed to be. So I got some paints here. Let's go ahead and do a wash on him. And I was thinking the red, the yellow, and the off brown should make some pretty cool washes. So let's go ahead and add some wash in my little cup here. And I just want to put a little yellow wash on there first. We'll just see how that looks. Then we'll add just a dab of red. Just because the yellow is just not quite what I'm looking for. We don't want to go too crazy on it because we just want some, just to give it a little bit different coloring. Alright, you can already see it looks a little bit different. I kind of like it already. Now let's just add. Now red is super strong, so you got to be careful with the red. Because red will just like take over everything if you're not careful. So I'm going to mix it with some yellow here just because I'm afraid. Very afraid. Oops, sorry you guys, I'm sitting there painting outside of the frame. Out of the frame. Oh, he's crying red tears. Red tears of shame. All right, that's already looking better. Already looking better, man. Can you dig it? Say, I can dig it. Now with these colors, you can only add to it. You really can't subtract from it. So you have to be very careful on how much you add of one particular color versus another. You can see how much darker yellow that looks now that I've added that red to it a little bit. I'm just going to add a little bit more, then I'll be done. Again, red is super strong, so be very careful with your red. You can destroy something very quickly with too much red. It's looking really good. I know it's not a lot different, but I'll compare it to his boots over there so you can see the difference in a minute. The original boots that he came with. You just want to keep dry brushing it on so that you get nice, smooth surface on it. Oh yeah, look at that. So look at the difference between the yellow it was originally and what it is now. Way better. Way better. All right, I'm happy with that. Just gotta let it dry now, and my Kol-Darr is finished. Dun 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 dun. You know what? I'm just gonna smooth this out a little bit more across the bottom here. There we go. That looks better. Yes. There we go. Kol-Darr is complete. Very cool. There he is, all the way up and down. And you can see him next to, well, this isn't really a Classics figure, this is a knockoff, but it's the same size as the Classics. And I found those Origins heads do work pretty good for Classics. There we go, here's a real He-Man. Yep. Wunderbar. I may put a light clear coat on the head and armor just to seal it completely. But I think that looks good. I'm done. All right. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And I mean, granted, it's not quite as orange as this guy, but I think from what we got originally from Mattel, I think it looks way cool, especially now having him in Classics. So that is all that I got. Until next time, like they say in the 1987 movie, ho! Good journey. Bye now.
If you found enjoyment, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Do it!